presentation, I will make it, and the idea was more like to discuss what we should do with this CGI group, and that's something that we made a short presentation. I mean, I think it still will be, I think, 10 to 15 minute presentation, but it's just 15 slides. So just to give you a short update that what has been done during the last 3 years, and then let you know about and ask you for feedbacks, what we need to do next, and perhaps what we can do to improve it. So CGI group was started in 2018 in a meeting in Madrid, and which was the idea from Patrick at the time, and the idea was to make a group which can analyze and evaluate the computer-generated content. So it was not supposed to be a gaming work group or let's say the project, but it became a gaming quality group. And that's something that I think we tried a lot to improve that, but was not done. And that's something that I would like to bring it up. But beforehand, just give you some basic numbers. Like we have 23 presentations so far. 40 people were interested in the beginning. I'm not sure how many are now interested, and I hope that you can see my presentation. So I didn't check with you, but I believe you can see. Okay, perfect. So, and there are some many institutes are involved, but only a few of them are actively, let's say that they are active in this work, which are Kingston University, TU Berlin, and Dolby, which I moved there, so that's why I keep the name, and then Simula and TU, and Ericsson and Tencent. So we had presentation for all these institutes, but generally that's all we had, and we expected to have way more than that, honestly. So first, give you a short summary of what has been done in gaming, at least domain. So we had the focus on 3 main topics. One on the assessment methodologies, like at the time that we started the group, the recommendation P809 was built. So 4 months later, actually, it was become a recommendation. So it was not a work that started in CGI. And P809 is subjective evaluation methods for gaming quality. So it was focusing on online gaming and cloud gaming, but it could extend it to any gaming services that we have. So what we did during this time was developing a new questionnaire, which was used to predict the interaction quality. So when you have a cloud gaming service, when there is a delay or latency, how we can assess that, because we didn't have any measurement tool to do that. So, and that's something that together with Stephen started working on that, and Stephen made a very nice work in that, and he collected pool of lots of questionnaire. I think you have seen the presentation. I don't want to go through that, but then he built such a questionnaire with 3, let's say that series of aspects that are important. So controllability, responsiveness, and immediate feedback. And that was a basis to start working and developing a new model so for cloud gaming service. So another work that was started afterwards was PCrowd-G, and that was also ITUT work item. Still is under progress, so I think still there is a draft document, and there are some parallel works in P.PBQCG, for example, that we are trying to make this, doing the quality assessment and crowdsourcing approach, and that's something that is still going on. I think there was one update presentation once, I think 2 meetings back, but at least that's something maybe might be interesting to look into it. So in addition to that, we also developed some data sets. So we developed generally 4 data sets, and which are all publicly available. So CGVDS is the one that Nawajid was presenting some part of that, so explaining that we tried that out with different even codecs and different other things. But basically, CGVDS is all based on H.264 using accelerator engines from NVIDIA, and we try to simulate what we have in a real cloud gaming service, how the videos are encoded. So it's a big data set with 5 series of data set and subjective tests that we run. And we have several, like 15 source video sequences encoded in multiple pairs of resolution and bitrate. Then GVSet and KUGVT, they are like a similar data set. We built that. It was developed to mimic or to develop something very similar to what we have in passive gaming video streaming, such as services like Twitch TV. So where we don't use accelerator engines, but we use like libx 264, for example, like H264. And we had up to 30 frames per second, so that was a limit that we had at the time. Then there is the game HDR gaming that Nabajit developed that, and I think he presented last time. And it is actually collecting HDR content and gaming content, and I think run the subjective test on the 55 inches TVs, and with different codecs and many other things, which I think you're well aware of that. If you would like to get access to any of these data sets, just send us an email and we will give you information about them if you don't have access to them. So another thing is the gaming quality models or prediction models that we work on that. And in that case, we started with video quality models, and we developed multiple signal-based models, several beta stream-based models, and then also beta stream model use header-based. And of course, P2 4.3 is not a model was developed within this work item, but there was a full HD mapping. So because it's proposed for 4K content, and we wanted to bring it for Full HD, and then Adeyemi-Ejeye actually proposed to remap that for gaming content and for HD content, and that's something that was done as well. And then there's also some planning models was proposed within this time frame, which might be interesting for someone who would like to look into it. So in gaming quality prediction model, video quality models, we started with signal-based models. So the main focus was no reference models in the beginning. And the reason is that we had VMAF, which correlates very well with gaming content. We didn't want to spend time to making something that is, increasing the correlation from 0.9 to 0.92. So it was nothing interesting for us. So we started very simple approach in 2018, which was mimicking or predicting VMAF directly as a no reference model. So the idea was like, if you have a no reference model, which is as good as VMAF, then that's a win. So you don't need to do more than that. And that's something that we did at the time. And we used 4 features as input, and we used like support vector regression using RBF kernel. So, and we built a model which was quite lightweight, but quite okay. Then Adeyemi-Ejeye come up with a better solution. So they find out that's still quite time consuming. So, and also they don't want to have VMAF to be predicted, but the subjective scores. They use the more pixel-based features, and then they take also 360p center crop from each frames, and then they use different types of temporal pooling to improve that, and they basically made a quite nice model at the end. So Nabajit continued working on that, and he did something also similar this time with Moses scores. I think it was parallel work together with NUFU, but he used neural networks, and he used 11 pixel base features, let's say that, and then he used PCA2 feature reduction, if I'm not mistaken, and then he made this model. Then we started with making a new model, which is deep learning based. So the idea was more like using DenseNet. But instead of all this work at the time that I have seen that they use like pre-trained network, which were mostly on ImageNet dataset, and then they are using just latent feature or the last fully connected layers, trying to use this dense information to make a prediction. I wanted to let the model to learn about the quality degradation types, like fragmentation, which is like degradation such as blockiness or blurriness, in a simple way of saying that. And we built such a model. EndiNet Gaming, I think, is quite robust for gaming content. We improved that a lot with some data, and then we added temporal pooling on top of that based on TI values to make a prediction better. And of course, like we did some mistake in the design, so then we tried to improve that with Demi, and Demi was an extension of EndiNet Gaming, but with better temporal pooling. And basically that was the idea behind it. So to make things slightly better than what was done before. So then we start working on some developing a beta stream model. So I start working on VQEG, which was the idea was more like, if you can make a beta stream model, which is not maybe very complex, but it is for a specific application. So let's say that if you have cloud gaming service, and you know that you are going to use H264, and you are going to use, let's say the NVIDIA encoder, so with accelerator engine. What if you can just build a model for the games that we have there. So you don't want to make a model that works for everyone. You want to have something for yourself, and you can have it actually quite lightweight. So we collect information from header. So it could be iframe, pframe, size of iframe, pframe, and then we build a multidimensional video quality models, and then we actually tested that and works quite well. The problem with VQEG is that it was trained and tested on dataset like CGVDS and was not tested on other dataset. Clear reason that it doesn't have access to B-frame, so it only has seen iframe, pframe, which we have in LLHQ preset. And that was the reason we never tested any other dataset, and we cannot validate that and for sure say that how good it is. So it is somehow biased to the data, but that was the idea behind it. Then we also tested a P203, P2 4.3, and they both work very well in gaming content. And P2 4.3, we find out if we do some remapping that to 1080p resolution and gaming content, so it would be very nice. And P2 4.3 is payload-based model, and it has a very good correlation to the subjective score with the dataset, which is very, very unbiased. I mean, in that case, was very good result that we achieved at the time. And I think very good work from Theo Elmina and Alex group, and I hope that people use it more. So another work that we recently did, and we have never presented that, hopefully next time we will do a presentation, is a BGVQ, we call it, but the idea was like having a payload-based model, and the idea was using CNN, convolutional neural network, and LSTM network on top of that, and to make a bitstream model which can make a frame-level prediction. So P203 and P2 4.3, they do not make a frame-level quality prediction, but they do it on the 1 second prediction. So we build something that can actually make such a frame level quality prediction. Very good actually result that we have seen, at least in the earliest stage that we have seen. And it can cover a wide range of encoding parameters. It can go as many as you want to have it, because like basically in the earliest stage, it will just be trained based on VMAP. And of course you can just record and encode the videos and then get the beta stream information and then improve the model. And only the latent feature will be used in the quality prediction, which is then can be somehow fine-tuned with the subjective data, which we are doing that, and that could be done in a smaller scale. And even though it uses CNN and LSTM, it's still very fast and very lightweight model. So it's not like using a DenseNet or something like that with millions of parameters, but it goes to a few thousand parameters, which is not that bad for such a model. Then also there are some planning models was presented before, gaming para, which goes up to 1080p. It was supposed to be actually one of the models that we wanted to bring to ITU. We never become a recommendation or part of recommendation, but I think it has a quite decent quality, considering that's just planning model having access to some simple information such as frame rate, resolution, and bitrate. Then there are also two planning models that was developed and I think presented before, especially during the time that we were developing that. Also, we had lots of discussion, if you remember. One is for cloud gaming service, and keep in mind it has both video quality side and interaction quality side. So, and these is actually become a recommendation called GTAT 1072, which Werner actually mentioned that yesterday during his presentation. And but that's planning model, so getting just very simple information such as bitrate, resolution, frame rate, and it would work, of course, in the range of parameters that was trained and tested. Another work that was also designed is G.OG, which is designed for online mobile gaming. There's no video on it, so that's why we have never also presented that here. But I think the work is more or less done, so it is more like a time to become a recommendation soon, or at least be proposed to become a recommendation. And the idea was more like, predicting or modeling the effect of delay, packet loss, and the effect of packet loss on the control stream, as well as the jerkiness that could happen on that. And that's also work is more or less, at least internally, was done, but hopefully will be also become a part of standard soon. Yeah, but all in all, there was several works that has been done, but most of them are gaming, and I think that's a bit not nice. But There are a few more, like I will just mention them in case you are interested. You can go back and look into the presentation. One is scale conversion from 7-point continuous to 5-point scale from TU Berlin, from 7. And because we use 7-point continuous scale, we call it ACR scale instead of 5-point in gaming in P.game or P.809 recommendation. So people would like to use it in 5-point, and we made such a conversion actually, or transformation, maybe be better to say it. There was a very interesting presentation from Tencent about multi-dimensional artistic assessment of mobile gaming images, which was very nicely done, explaining how this, images artistically, can be rated. There was a presentation from Joel and David about, updates on VQEG last time. There will be hopefully another one next time we will make. And VQEG is standing as an ongoing work item and developing a beta stream-based model for quality assessment of cloud gaming services. Then there was HDR content. I already mentioned that from data from Nabajit, and there was also LCVC, evaluation, which Nabajit had a new update on that. So don't present that. But there are 4 more works that was 3 more works actually not included gaming content, and these are the only ones that are how to say that, more like CGI content that is not gaming, and even the last one, I guess, could have been moved to the SAM or some other or Psycho QA and like not in CGI, I guess, but it still was present in CGI. So these things, like when we are reviewing that together with Nabajit, we come up with the idea like, okay, this group was supposed to be a CGI group and not gaming group, and what we can do to improve it. So we contacted many people, like working in point cloud, working on 3D content, graphical content and stuff like that. And, we were not successful to bring them here to make a presentation, but that's something which is a bit sad. And honestly, it become a gaming group, and that's something we would like to discuss it, what we need to do. So the question is that if we need to continue in CGI group, so that's the first question we have from the group and from people seeing that outside, not ourselves, that we are most probably are quite biased to what opinion we have. So because most of the work can go to Norm directly, it doesn't need to make a separate group for that. And that's something we want to be honest with you. And if you think that is useful still to have it, then let's do it. But if not, we can move it there. And I know the Norm is already quite crowded, let's say, the group with lots of presentation. But I leave it for you and to get your feedback, especially for those in the boarding or leading this VQEG, to give us some feedback on that. Another thing is that we're thinking to maybe changing the group to be a quality assessment of interactive applications. So, and I believe that this group is already like that. So, but we hesitate to bring any interactivity into it. So any work that has been done with virtual reality, with HCI related things, we try to skip it because VQEG is VQEG, so it's video quality expert group. It's not supposed to be about interactive system and all these things. But if you think that would be added value, then that could be something that we can move forward with it. So and change the group slightly to that direction. But keep in mind that it could also be fundamentally different than what VQEG is supposed to work on that. So with that, I would like to see your opinion, to see your feedback, and to see what can be done to improve it, what can be done to have this group in a way that should be. I mean, and maybe changing that slightly, changing that in group, not weekly meeting, but maybe by between VQEG to VQEG meetings, some meetings we can keep it and then to improve it. But so that's something, or maybe starting some project, some internal project. If there are some interest in that, then perhaps we can start it and then try to push it similar to SITA project and many others that is you're well aware of that. So I'm looking forward to see your opinion and see your feedback, and perhaps either we can improve it or either we can put an end to it. Whatever is the best for the VQEG, I would say would be great. And Nabuj, if you have also anything to say, please feel free to bring it up. And otherwise, I'm looking forward to see your feedback. I don't hear you, Nabajit, if you're speaking. Let's see.
I think Margaret and Yanis have their hands raised, so maybe we can, yeah. Margaret, maybe you can start.
Thank you. So just addressing your question of whether to keep CGI separate or merge it into norm, I see a value to keeping it separate as a topic of interest. So especially for online meetings where people look at the schedule, there's a separate community, I expect, who are interested in gaming and computer vision more than in no reference metrics. So that's the advantage I would see to keeping it separate. From a logistical standpoint, the reflector's already set up. There's no real overhead added. So that's my thought there. If you want to change direction, we could certainly change the name of the group to reflect your new vision. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Maybe Yanis? No?
Thank you, Saman, and thank you, Nabajit. Let me first of all reflect by saying that when you look back into what was done, I'm actually personally very impressed because I think that this group has performed solid quality work. And despite the fact that despite my best, let me say, attempts to be more active, I personally enjoyed each and every one of the presentations that I've heard. So a very good job. I'm a little bit pragmatic, and having also been involved, with quite a few activities within VQEG, and I would like to ask you too, because I think that, allow me to say, you're the main drivers, and I know that you have recently, or fairly recently transitioned. A lot, in my opinion, depends on the success of the group, on your own personal commitment moving forward, without, of course, making any, how should I say, commitments here. Do you anticipate that you will have the bandwidth to continue allocating either in this, let's call it CGI the way it is right now, or in a revamping of maybe a different group? Because that, in my opinion, would decide to a great extent what to do about the group. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Yanis. Actually, that's one of the reasons we brought this up, because while we hope, I mean, me and someone especially, still to continue working on this, but given the recent changes, I don't think, or we don't think we could do it at the same level which has been done so far, right? So we still do have some works, and we do still have some ideas we want to work on. But I think the number of, how do I say, contributions might decrease especially after the next VQEG meeting. And this is why if there are other, how do I say, institutions or companies involved or want to contribute, it does make sense to have the group, because it's quite an interesting group, like you said. But we too would not be able to drive it, how do I say, quite a lot after this. I mean, we would be like to be involved, but I don't think we can have a lot of contributions. So after March, April, I guess.
Yeah. So, someone maybe you wanted to add
Sure.
something.
So what I want to say is more like currently most of the thing we pushed it by ourselves. I mean, many contributions we try to make it happen. Like with Vino, for example, like we contacted them, we make it work to happen with you, Elmina, and many others. I'm not saying that they didn't do it, but just we try to push it and make sure that people will be involved in this group and having some collaboration in that respect. And I think what we see is that from our side, such a time is getting over somehow. It's become very difficult for me managing the group, like taking care of that is not a big deal, but it's more like if we can get that many contribution again, is something we are very much worried about that. And unless we really can find a topic that there will be people external also will join us and do the presentation, and will be interested in that, and that's something we are not sure about. That's something we are trying to really understand it better. And this year we saw that like we had a very limited number of presentations, which is just one from our side, but some update, which is, I think, a bad sign from our side. We see it.
Yeah. So again, before I know Shell is patiently waiting, but if I have to weigh in and give an opinion, is in terms of subject matter, the IMG group can definitely cover, let me use the word, the AR/VR version of gaming. And obviously on the, let me use the word, on the metric side, norm or AVHD can cover. So let me say that there is a fallback plan, but I would really depend that fallback plan, again, on if nobody else, I understand that you are, let's say, reducing your cycles. So my suggestion is, unless somebody steps up to do or try to do as good of a job as you did in the upcoming future, having the fallback plan of, inheriting the activities on these two groups could be a more reasonable, solution. And that's me signing off and letting Cell speak.
Thank you, Yanni.
Thank you very much. Michelle?
Yeah, thank you. I would also, I mean, I very much agree on what Yannis just said. I mean, this has been a tremendous job you have done during the time. It was impressive when you. It's always you think you don't do a lot of progress, but when you do such a collection of what happened during a period of time, you can see that it was actually quite an effort that you have done, and that's excellent work. But then, so what I'm curious about is there anything in your new position, new work that would that if one steered the group's interest into those topics would make your interest and effort. I mean, CGI was driven more or less with your previous interest. Now I understand you have new positions and then you may have a different interest, but could that interest be steered into some work that is interesting and go in line with what VQEG is doing? Then one could maybe adjust the group into that topic instead. And of course, I mean, groups comes and goes, and if there is no kind of driver, and I fully support Yannis in that. If the chairs and co-chairs, if they are not kind of burning for the question, that there are no progress. So although they are not supposed to do everything, but it's anyway they that will be the driving force and will give other enthusiasts to contribute. So if you don't have the time, then and if nobody else comes up and say, hey, I will have the time and drive for it, then it could be steered into other groups. Having said that, I think that interactivity is not out of the scope of VQEG, and also we have had efforts before on video conferencing, which has not been that. It maybe also a lack of driving forces being not that kind of successful. I know that in ITU, Gunilla is driving a lot on the XR meetings, but maybe that falls into IMG, or maybe if it gets more visibility, if it has its own position in a separate group, could be also a way to driving it forward. At least there is a specific target in ITU that would be a connection for that type of work. So
yeah, sure.
Okay, I should stop talking, please.
Yeah, I mean, thanks a lot, Shell, and I think something I think the point is not if the time would allow us to lead that. It's more like if there will be more people interested in this topic to make contribution, and that's something I cannot judge it, but I feel that it will go down for a while at least. Like I really expected to see more people, like especially with Netflix going to the gaming, Facebook going to the gaming, and I expected to see some people coming and present some interesting work in the gaming side, but I couldn't see it, and that's something was a bit bothering us. I mean, and of course, not only gaming, but other topics that are related to CGI. And this year, like we find some people in Tractivity that we wanted to present, and they ask us if we can present in VQEG. So we don't know because it's VQEG, so the video quality, so might not be super relevant. And that's why, like, we wanted to ask, like, if it would be interesting, it might be something we can think of that. One way of thinking of that could be keeping that for one more, let's say that meetings, and let's say that what will happen to the next meeting, and we have a maybe clear mind if we should keep it or not. But I think that's something serious. We need to think of that. So we don't want to keep it, the name there, but really have something that is working, not something just the name should be there, But that's my opinion.
Maybe you could. I mean, now you putting it out there in the meeting now. Maybe you can also send it out to the reflector and see get some feedback if there are interest on the reflector to contribute and keep the group and I mean, you can explain the situation and so on, even on when you send out for the question. I see. And I mean, if there are no interest, maybe, which I hope there still is. I mean, it's a hot topic, and I think it would be strange. I kind of agree that there should be a lot of interest from a lot of organization into this topic, because it's like a huge market for consumers with gaming. So yeah, but maybe that's just a mixture of people that visit VQEG, and maybe the name, as you say, can be a showstopper for new participants. Okay, I will stop there.
Excellent. Sure. And Nabaj, do you want to say something, or we should move
Margaret Margaret has her hand. Margaret, please.
Thank you. So, with everything that's been said since last I spoke up, I think it would be interesting to hear if there's anybody on the call right now who would be interested in taking over chairing this group, or who would likely contribute anytime in the next year to this group. I think that might be a good way to answer your question of what level of interest is there. And from what you've said, if you don't have the time to chair, I think it's very reasonable to close the group simply for that reason, and let it reform when somebody else has an interest in the time to support.
I think for now, what me and someone, when we discuss, we can keep the group open at least till the next meeting, and then see if we have how the status is probably by next meeting, and then we can take a decision maybe in March meeting, March or April, whenever we have the next meeting. So
yeah, and by then I think it would be still nice to know who is interested in that, so then we can have also internally arrange that already, such a.
And like suggested, maybe we can send out an email and check who all will be interested and all, and then we can decide for final maybe in the next meeting. That would be the best, I think.
That sounds very reasonable to me.
Michelle, please.
Just, I mean, on that note of maybe VQEG is maybe not the biggest community for gaming. Maybe you also have other networks that you could then also invite and explain that of this work in VQEG, that they are welcome to join. even if they don't see that VQEG is a gaming community.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and thanks a lot, everyone. I think it was great feedback, and feel free to come back to us. I mean, how to say that privately, if you feel it's you know, you want to be honest with us, and just come back to us directly. It would be a great feedback to hear from you how we can improve that. I think that's something we appreciate to see your opinion later on. Yeah, and with that, I would like to then conclude the CGI group. Then I think we can slowly move forward to the next one. Then I will hand it over to Shayla or Margaret, not sure. So for the rest of the meeting.
Okay, so thank you. The other topic we had for this time slot was administration. Shell, would you care to?
Yeah, I mean, there are some echo here. Okay, I mean, administration, that usually are mostly about finding time for the next meeting, and which is of course an important topic, and one of the decisions we should probably do, or maybe we can postpone that also, is whether that should be like an online hybrid or a physical meeting. As it looks at the moment, it's a bit pessimistic about having a physical meeting. One could also keep it open for a while, but I guess the later part of next spring, I guess it's more likely that things have been hopefully changing, but we don't know that. But for sure we could have an online meeting anyway. And it's probably quite fast to change for one. But on the other hand, we need to find a host if we want to have something that is either a hybrid or a physical meeting. So any opinions on that?
Yanis?
I think the only prudent thing to do right now is to plan for a virtual meeting, especially if you're considering March rather than, I don't know, May timeframe, because I think that even if there is clear certainty about the physical meeting possibility, the hesitation and the necessary travel plans to make it happen will not materialize. So I believe that unfortunately we have to go for our, let me think, 1, 2, 3, 4, our fifth all virtual meeting. That's at least my suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, I I kind of agree, and maybe we could also. I mean, the online meetings are definitely less difficult to arrange compared to the physical meeting, because it kind of requires a host and travel arrangement for many people. So I mean, if we think about the period we have between meetings, is usually more like we would have a meeting in May rather than March. But on the other hand, since we now have the online opportunity, we could also have it a little bit sooner than we normally have in time, if we think that we have enough progress by a March meeting, which is just like 4 months away. So that's also something to consider.
Hi, Cher. Can you see me? I can't see myself.
No, I don't see you, but I can hear you.
We can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. So hi everyone. For the next
Hi.
meeting, I think that we can host it in France. That of course that will depend on the COVID, but maybe we can do that in parallel. For those who want to attend, we can arrange also a meeting room in Rouen, in France. And then maybe we can have some remote meetings in parallel. What do you think about that? But March is a little bit rush for us to organize that well. If it's possible, we prefer April or May.
Yeah, okay, April. I'll go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I think it would be wonderful to have a hybrid meeting, giving people the option to be face-to-face in Rennes.
Yeah.
And for me, I think April to May would be better in terms of time between meetings.
Yeah. I would say though that okay, just a short comment though.
Yeah, sorry.
Before. Just a hybrid meeting would be let's say more challenging to arrange because to get the online participation active, at least previously when we have had this combination has been not very good for the online people. So so we need to think about quite a lot. How could a hybrid meeting be done so that the online participation is as good as the participation on site?
Okay.
So, I will. Who was it? David or that had a comment?
Yes, that was exactly David's concern is, and I admit in the past that it has been tricky in face-to-face meetings to get the connectivity, the audio and video out to remote participants. I suspect the situation has really improved over the past year and a half, and perhaps we could do some tests with the room that the prospective host is considering using.
Yeah.
Just a quick comment. In 3GPP, we have decided to never have mixed meetings. We tried it a little bit early before the pandemic, and it's very difficult to. I mean, the purpose of people meeting is to get a good discussion going, and as soon as people join over telephone and things like that, it sort of slows down the efficiency of the meeting. And those who actually took the burden to travel feels a little bit cheated because they invested time and money, and then still the efficiency of the meeting is almost on the par of just having a phone meeting. Sometimes it's even better just having a video meeting without any local participants. Of course, now everything is a little bit better with Teams and Zoom and etc. during pandemic, but I still think that mixed meetings is a challenge. So anyway, in 3GPP we won't have them, basically, just as a decision.
Okay, that's very useful to know. Yanis?
My apologies, it's a leftover. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. And Femi?
I don't know if it's worth considering having either or. So one meeting is online and the other meeting is face-to-face. Or maybe I don't know.
Well, at our last VQEG meeting, what we had proposed is alternate between a December online meeting and a spring face-to-face meeting. And if travel is possible, I personally still think that's a very good plan.
Yeah.
Gunnar here again. I forgot to mention that similar things have been decided in 3GPP, so we will have some some video meetings and some physical meetings, but not mixed.
Yeah.
I mean, then you could announce them as physical meeting, but then as we had before, the remote participation is an option, but then be understood to be worse than be on site. Of course, we should try to make it as good as possible also for the remote participation. I don't think we can. It's kind of we will leave a lot of people out if we say it's only a face-to-face meeting. I'm a little bit afraid of that. Femi?
Yeah, sorry, just to add that, I can understand what you're saying about the face-to-face, but like some other people have pointed out, the issue of mixed meetings, we cannot resolve that. So might I suggest that rather than expect interactivity from those online, we could just stream it. So if people are going to attend, or people are going to attend virtually, they just see the streamed version. And if they have any questions, they could speak to the authors of the presentations afterwards.
Or possibly submit questions by chat.
Or possibly submit questions by chat, yes.
Gunnar here again. I think it's a decent idea, because the main impact we saw in 3DPP was when people were actively trying to be part of the discussion over phone, but missing some words here and there because of non-optimal conference equipment. And also we had to draw on the whiteboard because that was one of the, it was a work meeting, so it was a lot of whiteboard work. And of course we didn't have a camera to the whiteboard, so it sort of messed up everything for the remote participants. And they tried to sort of catch up, and then those who were physical at the meeting had to re-explain everything, and it really slowed down everything. If it's only one way, mostly, I think it's more feasible.
Okay, logistically, I agree. That sounds a lot more doable. If video is streaming out, and we'll do our best to catch comments and discussions in the audience, but be sure to catch audio from the speaker, the presenter, or whoever's leading the discussions, and ask participants to submit questions by text. And as I said, I would like to be optimistic and try for a face-to-face meeting. And just logistically, the host needs quite a bit of time to put that together. And as Shell said, for travel plans and funding, participants do as well. So if we're going to try for this, it would be best to decide today, I think.
Yes, I agree. We could ask here. I mean, we would of course make the meeting all online if that's the general recommendation due to the pandemic. I mean, if the situation doesn't improve considerable, and I mean there are travel restrictions a lot, but I mean, if the situation has improved and there are less travel restriction, would you be interested or willing to participate or if on a physical meeting? No, I don't really. Maybe you can write in the chat. Otherwise, it's hard to capture any answer on that. I mean, I could.
I agree. I agree. It would be nice, maybe just say yes or no on the chat, whether you would be likely to attend.
And that's assuming REN, right, in April or May?
Yes.
So we are only typing yes or are also typing no's?
It's fine to type no.
So
yes, please also indicate no or
okay.
unknown. Because our goal is to try to get a feeling of response based on the people we have available.
That's Narciso speaking, but I think that one of the main problems for organizing everything nowadays is to have an anticipation of what will happen. I am a member of a committee of a PhD dissertation in Barcelona next Tuesday, and it is expected to be face-to-face, but until tomorrow, we will not have a final decision. And for me, it's very easy to arrange a travel on Monday afternoon or Tuesday morning because I am traveling to Barcelona. But when you travel farther away, it's a problem.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I guess we would need to have a at least reasonable deadline for the final decision on.
And the problem is that this decision is not in our hands. For example, this week, last Monday, I was in a PhD committee in Berlin, but from my office. It was a PhD dissertation in the Technical University of Berlin, but with the committee members spread elsewhere. It was not a decision of the university. It was a decision of the Berlin Land.
Yes, I think that we can prepare also a plan B. So if the condition of COVID does not allow us to have physical meetings, then we can still arrange a meeting using Teams or Zoom.
Yeah, I think that needs to be the fallback solution. But yes, I think we should. Sorry, go ahead, Margaret.
By my count, we're roughly 2-to-1 in favor of that people would attend a face-to-face meeting, with a little less than the number of no's are undecided. And for everyone, I know there's going to be country and company policies that would overwrite these yeses and no's. I like the idea of developing a backup plan alongside.
So, I mean, we could tentatively decide here based on this type of voting but we could also back this up with a doodle on the reflector to get a vote on a broader scale. Do you think about that?
I very much like the idea of doing a Google poll.
Also known as Doodle.
Sorry, Doodle poll. My apologies. And I'd like to add to the minutes the kind offer that has just been made to host from.
Thank you, Lou. That was very nice.
Yeah.
Welcome. Our pleasure. I will not be alone. I think we will host that with Lucy and Mariam.
Yeah, it would be really nice to come to REN. Of course, that would, especially, I guess it's nice in spring.
Maybe it's more possible to have physical meetings towards summer. Maybe the COVID will be better in summer. So in May, don't know.
Yeah, I agree. It's more likely the later into the summer in sense put the date, because it has at least the last 2 years improved in Europe quite drastically towards the summer. I mean, even in the end of the summer, it has been virtually. I mean, I would say that it's very much dependent on which country it is. But anyway, it goes down during the summer. It has definitely gone down during the summer.
Okay, so I will write down what we've just discussed in the meeting minutes. And meanwhile, we should look into what tentative dates seem reasonable in April and May, with the understanding that any week the host can't support is, of course, just plain out.
So how does it look for you during? We are talking about May now, primarily, or April, May.
Yeah, maybe May is better.
Okay, so let's.
There are some Christian holidays during May that could be problematic. Like the 26th of May.
I don't know if you have preferences, Lou. For me, anything looks okay for now.
For me personally, I don't think that the week with 23 to 27 of May is possible. Last week of May.
Which weeks do you think are problematic?
I would say the last week of May would be problematic because there is also like a Christian holiday there, which is.
It will be more expensive to travel on that week in France. And yeah, more people in the trains and all that, and in the hotels. So the week before could be good, I guess.
16 to 20.
Yeah, or even at the beginning of May, we can do a doodle to see who will be available.
Okay, so the other weeks of May, like the week 18, 19, and 20, the saying starting with May the 2nd, May the 9th, and May the 16th, it's fine with you, Lou?
Yeah. These 3 weeks are okay, I think.
Are there anyone that knows about any competing event that we usually consider during those 3 weeks?
It's a little bit too early to tell, to be honest with you. So there are some ideas floating to happen around that time, but we really need to put it as a tentative, let people go back to their calendars and, bounce any potential conflicts.
Sure.
In the week starting May 9th, there is a Spring 2022 Technology and Standards Forum from CTA. I don't know, maybe someone from US is. I have no idea if someone is member of that, but there is a forum meeting there. And there is segments 2022 conference from the Streaming Video Alliance, in case anyone is attending.
Yeah.
I am not, but I'm just mentioning this. because I see that in my calendar. So.
Okay. I know that the ITU meetings and MPEG meetings are usually something we try to avoid. To
The MPEG in end of May, I think, or June.
There is a 3GP PSA4 meeting from 11th to 20th of May, but maybe it's only me who is worried about that.
That sounded like the whole of May.
No, 11th to 20th, so it's 10 days. Because usually we have 1 week, but since we go video meeting, it's less efficient. So, and we don't use 10 hours per day, so we spread it out differently. So it's 10 days.
Okay, sorry, which meeting is that?
Sorry, 3GP.
Which meeting?
3GP.
SA4. It's the video codec group in 3GPP. It's 11th to 20th of May. But I don't know, maybe it's only myself who is actually going on both. And I'm not totally important in the VQEG meeting, to be honest, so you don't need to care so much.
Okay, I suggest, as has just been said, we put out those 3 weeks to the doodle poll along with the question of ability and interest in attending face-to-face.
Sounds good.
Yeah, Quomex, does anyone know when Quomex is likely to meet?
I can't find the information. We are also searching for that.
It will be quite late. So as far as
Margaret, I think that everybody is wondering if COMEX is going to happen because there is no information at all.
It will happen, but it will be quite late. I know it. So they just formed a group. So and probably it will be in mid-summer. So.
And do you know where it will be?
It will be in Germany. So I know it.
Okay.
And Jan will take care of that. That's why I know quite well.
Okay.
So I have the date. I think it's in either in July or in September. So based on the proposal of the date that I can see. So end of July or end of September, mid of September.
Okay, so it won't conflict with our tentative dates then. So that's good. So I guess we then decided to send out a doodle on these weeks and the willingness to participate in a physical meeting at Rennes. In Rennes. Are there other administrative things we should be discussing?
Nothing I'm aware of. In terms of logistical questions, the only question that's occurred to me recently is if we want to close the joint effort group and the ILG. As we pointed out during discussions on Monday, neither one has really been needed for a few years.
I mean, as one of the co-chairs of joint effort group, I think that group has not been useful or needed for a long time. So I think that would be a good thing to close. I'm a bit hesitant on the ILG because I think just because of the importance it has had. On the other hand, I don't see like the similar type of project coming up anytime soon, and of course it's always possible to recreate a thing that was what we have in the past. So we can do either way, either to keep it or close it and then open it if we need it.
My feeling is it would be better to close it and then reopen it if it's needed. And it hasn't, I just don't see a need for it anytime in the near future, and it's been a fair number of years since it was last helpful.
Yeah. Do we have any comments from the audience about any of those topics? Especially on closing ILG. Okay, are there anyone opposing that we close ILG and the joint effort group? For now, we can always open it later if we need them. Okay, hearing none, I think we have a decision on closing those two.
Great, thank you. I will put that down as an agreement and highlight that. And then I will make those changes to the website.
Absolutely, very good, thank you. I was thinking maybe we could take, I guess we have a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Or if we
we
could discuss a little bit around the how do you think that the current organization of the meeting, this online format, I mean the time, I mean the structure of the sessions and so on. Is there any? I mean, if it's a physical meeting next time, it may be organized in a different way. But if we are going to organize another online meeting, is there anything we can improve? I mean, one of the things we learned this meeting is that we should make sure that we have a chat working when the meeting starts. This has no criticism on you, Femi, at all, but just something I didn't even think about before the meeting was starting, and so to speak. But the length, I mean, 5 hours, is it fine? Is the division of the time zones, are they fine, and so on? Any opinion?
I mean, I just speak for myself clearly. I mean, for the past 4 days, and despite some anticipated problems, I was able to join at 5 a.m. It's not the best of times, and I'm sure we're missing out quite a lot of people on the west coast of the United States who, despite wanting to, they cannot join at 5 a.m. So I can say that at the same time, it's probably the only time that somehow works for Asia. So it's a catch-22 situation. It's how much we want to lose from whom. I think, let me say, the true followers and believers of VQEG will find the time to join even at 1 or 2 a.m., right? So the only question is, where is that majority or the probability distribution? So I can only say that I think at least between 5 and 7 a.m., speaking about the local time, right, the first 2 hours of the meeting, the way it is right now, I have a feeling we're missing a good 80% of potential audience from the Bay Area.
Okay, so what you're saying is a shift 2 hours later would be better.
Again, looking at it a little bit, self-centered. Again, I joined, but again, looking at the mass, I think 2 hours later would be definitely including a whole lot of more people from, again, the west coast of the US.
Yeah. So how much? I mean, it's still the accommodating of the Asian time zones at the same time as the American time zone. Looking at the number of participants, there are usually more American participants compared to the Asians. Probably that would not increase if we make the time zones even worse. But on the other hand, that's kind of a trade-off we need to do. The Europeans are usually quite. We are getting usually quite good times, unless we kind of swap it around completely, like putting it on daytime either in America or in Asia. But if you even if you adjust this time a couple of hours earlier or later, that doesn't affect I think the participation in Europe at all, or very slightly, I would say. One could also try maybe a two-sided. Oh, okay, go ahead, David.
I think, I mean, and this is also, as Jan said, for me personally, moving it, the hours between 17 and 19 is like the most critical for dinner and taking care of the family. But I guess that's the same for everyone. But moving it even later is negative in my experience. But would it even be possible to move it a lot? I mean, switching it around. So we start at super early, and what would that make for the rest of the schedule?
Gunnar here. Another take is again looking at a little bit how we do it in 3DPP. We basically use 3 time zones: Central European time, Pacific time, and Korean Standard Time. And we try to avoid schedule any sessions which would fall between midnight and 5 a.m. in any time zone, which then gives some gaps which we can use, but it's you can't run like super long sessions then, because the gap is not so wide. The 2 gaps, you have 2 gaps basically there.
And how long are those? 2 or 3 hours, or?
I think the longest one is 4 hours, the longest gap, depending on where you put the sort of bulk of the meeting. In 3DPP we go round robin, so one meeting we have office time for Korea and the others have to adjust. Next meeting is office time for Central Europe, and the next meeting again office time for Pacific time, for Bay Area. It's not ideal, but that's one way of doing it, which is sort of fair. Of course, it depends on where the delegates are coming from. If it's very few delegates from one area, it's maybe not reasonable that you can accommodate their time zone so much, let's say. Yeah. Anyway, that's one possible solution, to try to identify red hours where no one really should need to be awake in the middle of the night, usually.
Okay, that sounds reasonable. And the participation in 3DPP, is that kind of even between Asia?
It's more even, I would say, between Asia, Europe, and the US. I don't have an exact figure, but the feeling is that it's reasonably even. I'm talking about SA4, that group, so I don't know about other groups, how they do it.
Navajit, do you have another comment?
Yeah, I was just going to suggest that maybe we can have 3 days, you know, like early and 2 days maybe to accommodate the other time zone. So probably that would work. And depending on the participation of which groups they are actually interested in, we can schedule that.
My problem with that is that I have a really hard time getting feedback from people on issues like, let's put this topic at that time. Anything complex is going to be really hard just logistically to get people to speak up and commit to. I agree it would be better if we could get that sort of response. Could we maybe add to the doodle poll particular hours and have people say, I would attend, I would definitely not attend, and I'm not happy with it, but I can do it?
Yeah, why not? I mean, that's good. That could be good for planning of future meetings.
Yes, with the idea that it would not necessarily be contiguous time slots like we've been doing. My other alternative suggestion is we try the next online meeting shifted forward 2 hours and see what happens to participation and see what feedback we get back afterwards.
Margaret, sorry, I didn't mean session wise. I meant like, you know, 3 days you have sessions which are like what we have right now, and probably 2 days we have the whole session shifted. I mean, the 5-hour block shifted so that it can accommodate someone who is actually interested in joining those sessions. So something like that. I think the contiguous block works better in case otherwise it might be a bit difficult. I don't know. That's my perception that it might be difficult if we have it is scattered over the day.
Okay.
And then just another possibility is, of course, to every day we have two sessions like that kind of with some break between. So not now we have 5 hours in a consecutive time. Maybe we could have something that is one session that is more adjusted to the American / Europe time zone, and one that is more adjusted to the that would be probably European and Asian time zone. So then put specific contribution from the US into the one which is more adjusted to that. Which may not be ideal either. So I don't think there is a perfect solution, just because the yeah. So but anyway, we can have we can let's get some opinions in then since we're now doing a doodle, then we can try to judge from that whether to go on with a similar scheme or adjusted time zone. And I mean, if you go for a physical meeting, it will be the European time zone next time.
Yes, that's true. Okay. Personally, I think this is as much information as we can gather from discussions, and we should probably go for a long break. Do you agree, Shel?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine with me. So let's do that, and we will be back at 40 minutes after the hour, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just maybe, Margaret, one thing actually on the website for the VQEG e-letter, the author instruction and all the other documents, actually the links are not working.
Okay, thank you for telling me. I will take a look at that.
Shall we do
Anything
the
else?
Shall we do the group picture now?
Oh, yes. Yes, please let's. So please turn on your cameras.
I always have a problem with the camera of Teams.
And
there are still quite a few that won't like to be in the picture.
okay. I will capture a couple pictures.
Is the others, are they because they are not here, or is because they?
Is my camera on? Can you?
Yes, but you are quite blurry, Janis. Did you put the blur filter on you or on the background?
No. It's still dark, and the window facing me and illuminating is, you know, not providing. So I have mostly backlight. Backlight is not the best, as you know, for.
It's
pictures.
not, and I'm going to capture one picture in together mode where I think we're more likely to make sure to get everyone. So one last picture. And I've got it. So thank you.
Thank you.
I will
thank you.
Thank you.
Could I just remember? Could I, before we just everyone runs on the break, could I just make a short announcement, which is a little bit. It's related to VQEG. It's about a topic collection for the journal topic collection. Let me try to see which we would like to have contributions to. Yes, it's this one. Can you see my screen now? So we have a call for papers for a topic collection called Crowdsourced and Remote User Studies for Quality of Experience Usability Results for the Quality of User Experience journal. I will put this link into the chat so you can read about it yourself, and so that specific topics could be about crowdsourcing, of course, novel application, reproducibility of results, usability of user experience and crowdsourcing tasks, interconnection with test concepts, remote user study, and share best practices from also from the pandemic. And basically there will be a submission window open until the last of June next year, and the guest editors are myself, Mattia Hirth, Babak Nadiri, and Niall Murray, and we look forward to a lot of nice and interesting contributions. So I think that's it. So if there are no any questions, we can then go for a break until 40 minutes after the hour.
Shell, could you put that announcement into the minutes?
Yes, I also sent you an email. I put it into the presentation list, so it has a number now, and I could send you the PDF But I could also put the link into the minutes.
Okay. Yes, please.
Hmm?
So yes, we will reconvene 40 minutes after the hour.
Okay, great. Thank you. See you later.